Hi everyone, it's Mr. Rops here, and I'm going to introduce you to the square root function, which is our first family of functions, well, second because we've done the quadratic. And throughout the course of the year, we will study all of these particular functions, and you'll get to know and love them. And so what we have here, we have the parent function, g of x, which is the square root of x. In the past, the parent function you've dealt with most often is x squared. That was the parent function, we changed it. In order to change it, you need to know what the base function looks like. And so when you look at the base function, this is the thing, and here's on Desmos. And if you think about this function here, it's basically a sideways, half a sideways parabola, as you can see if there's a full parabola. So it's the top half of the function there. It has these points. For x values that are negative, they're not defined. And so we can see all these coordinate points. The nice ones I'm trying to highlight here were 0, 1, 4, 2, and then the next one will be 9, 3, and so on. Okay, and so getting familiar with these nice points is often helpful. And so new features though, we have the x-intercept and y-intercept 0, 0. That's our pretty straightforward. But I'm going to introduce you to a thing called this pivot point. And what the pivot point is, it tends to be the defining points of the graph. And so they're the defining point, the one we follow all around, defining point or points. And so if I think about this, if I think about this sideways parabola, if parabola was always the vertex, that was our key point, our pivot point. And so that's what we're going to call it for the square root function. Our pivot point in this case is going to be 0, 0. We're going to follow 0, 0 around as we move it, change, and transform it. If we think about our domain, well, domain is possible x values. And so if we think about possible x values, if I make a line, I want a to be a slider, x equal to 1, and let's go from -3 to 10. Okay, so if I move this line back and forth, these are the domain values, and I ask myself, where does it touch the graph? Well, it touches the graph now it does not. So anywhere from 0 and bigger. And so my domain is going to be x is 0 or bigger. So positive values bigger than 0. The range is y values. Well, if I think about it in this way as well, if I think about y values, right? If I think about y values, well, it touches here. It no longer touches down here negative, but it always touches, and eventually it would touch forever. And so in this case, it is y is bigger than or equal to 0 as well. If I want to find the inverse, well, a quick calculation, we know we switch our x and y values. And if I solve for y now, I square both sides. And so it's not surprisingly that the inverse is equal to x squared. But we only want the positive half. We switch our x and y, so we switch domain and range as well, and so it's going to be x is bigger than or equal to 0. And so there is my inverse function. There you are. Welcome to the square root function.